Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the reaction video. Today we're going to be checking out TierZoo's The Lizard tier list. Now a little bit about myself before we get into the reaction. I'm, as you can probably tell by that, I have a few pets myself, and I in fact do own a lizard. I have a bearded dragon. For anyone who's interested in the specific breed of my dragon, it's a hyper-translucent red, so kind of a rarer breed of dragon. And I also studied animal care at college, so I do know a little bit about animals, and my college campus was a really good one, so we had an entire room dedicated to the reptiles. It was literally just called the reptile room. So in terms of like husbandry and care of animals, I will know about it. But today we're gonna ignore all that and we're gonna learn some stuff that I didn't already know. So just basically, this is just a video to kind of just sit back and see if I can add anything to the video. Just kind of give my own opinions on it and see if I agree with his making his list. I don't even know what she's doing. Right, let's get into this reaction video, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe and all that lovely stuff as well. Let's go. Ding.
This video was made in partnership with CuriosityStream. Reptiles are a diverse faction full of many strategies, and generally speaking, they tend to be fairly straightforward. Turtles are tank builds that spec into high defensive
I would love a pet turtle, but I haven't got the space for it.
Stats at the cost of mobility. Crocodiles are damage dealers that focus on.
Oh yeah, and as you know, I kind of give away with all my reaction videos to TierZoo. They're going to show some clips that some people might not like, so if that kind of stuff disturbs you, click off the video now.
Grappling to secure kills. Snakes optimize for stealth and rely on status effects to bring down their targets. But where do lizards fit into the meta? They aren't really known for extreme speed, but as far as cold-blooded builds go, they're quicker than most. And while not as tanky as turtles, and not as stealthy as snakes, they can hold their own in each of these departments as well. Some of the larger lizards can even give crocodilians a run for their money in the power category too. While many of them could best be described as jack-of-all-trades generalists, there are also plenty of lizards with extremely unique abilities. So to better understand the
chameleons are just chameleons are a crazy animal.
Many different game plans employed by the lizard player base. Today we're going through the lizard tier list.
Right, what we're saying is S tier, and let's try and guess the S tier's lizards. I mean, it's got to be a Komodo dragon. Has got to be up there. And what else would we say? It's definitely not. I know I'm biased towards a bearded dragon, but it's not going to be a bearded dragon. I reckon maybe an iguana. But I can't think of any other S tier lizards. There's certainly a lot that can go in like kind of the middle, and a few. There's probably a lot in the bottom as well, realistically. But obviously, he doesn't do every single lizard. He goes through, kind of the main classes of them.
Before we get into the tier list, first I'd like to start with some background on
Let's get the history lesson.
Lizard faction. So back during the Carboniferous expansion, the meta revolved around the conflict between the two most powerful factions, the amphibians and the arthropods. However, during this time, a small subsection of the amphibian player base unlocked two new special abilities, the eggshell, which allowed them to respawn on dry land rather than in the water, and scales, which gave them massively increased dehydration resistance. This eliminated their reliance on water and allowed them to explore tons of new strategies, eventually diversifying.
Isn't it crazy how just naturally, like, animals just know to just evolve and change like that? It's just fucking mental, mate.
Into all of the reptile builds in today's meta, as well as a few that were so overpowered that they ended up getting nerfed. The most powerful lizard build of all time was the Mosasaurus, a build that arose from a player base of beach-dwelling monitor lizards.
I think the Mosasaur in real life is actually a lot smaller than what they portray it in Jurassic Park. Same with Velociraptors.
That spec'd into aquatic mobility options in order to avoid being griefed by dinosaurs. But one of the most powerful lizards of today's meta. We're actually going to begin in D tier, as I don't think there are any truly awful lizard builds. The adaptations they've made to eliminate the weaknesses of their amphibian ancestors is enough to escape bottom tier in my opinion. So how do lizards stack up? Let's get into the tier list.
The skink. What are we saying about the skink? So the skink is just like, I guess it's not got any. The defense stat is going to be abysmal, but skinks are very fast and they're pretty stealthy. So that's and kind of they're in deserts. I want to say skinks. They're the ones that like bury themselves in the sand, I think. So I reckon it's probably got a good defense and stealth stat, but probably abysmal everything else.
D tier, we have the skink, a smaller lizard build with very little in the way of
Also, I would love to get a blue-tongued skink at one point because they look fucking sick.
unique special abilities. Their stats are also quite low, and their game plan generally just consists of chasing down players in the lower weight classes, and struggles pretty hard when forced to defend itself. In particular, this build has a lot of trouble dealing with birds. Despite the fact that it often hunts in grassy fields, it lacks the stealth
I think that's going to be a problem for most lizards on this list, that birds are going to be a real contender.
stats required to avoid detection from above. In fact, many skinks are known for being brightly colored or having one specifically brightly colored body part. Skinks try to avoid being griefed by digging burrows for themselves, and while burrows are a great hiding place, the burrowing playstyle tends to work best when you've got the ability to launch a powerful attack in a single direction, since the bottleneck of a burrow makes it near impossible for a predator to approach without getting hit. Skinks can't really mount
I hope the cat was alright.
any sort of attack, so if their burrow gets discovered, it's most likely game over.
The one defensive ability they do have is one commonly found in the lizard player base: autotomy. Autotomy
That's when you drop. Because a lot of lizards drop their tails, and I'm pretty sure they don't always regrow them, do they?
allows the user to drop their tail in order to get one free escape from a combo or grab.
Now, to be fair, being able to break out of your opponent's death combos is an extremely useful trait that can save you from certain defeat. But with that said, autotomy is extremely costly to use,
Yeah.
Isn't guaranteed to work, and leaves you with reduced max HP.
Because I know, like, for an example, for like a leopard gecko, that's like where they store all the, I'm pretty sure it's like fat and nutrients they store there. So if they lose that, that's fucking basically game over unless you can rebuild it. So yeah, it is a massive loss.
for the rest of the game, even if your character has regenerative abilities.
I know, I'm pausing way too much.
For the larger lizard builds, losing your tail also removes one of your best offensive options. But for the skink, this isn't as big a problem. With all that being said, skinks
I'm pretty sure iguanas don't drop their tails.
are one of the more lackluster lizard builds, so let's keep going and get to the more interesting ones.
Basilisk.
Also in D tier, we have the Basilisk Lizard, which is most notable for its use of the sprint ability, not just
Oh, that's the little one that... Is that the one that runs on water?
to move fast on land, but also to cross
Yeah.
bodies of water. At first, this ability seems quite impressive, and it certainly is a flashy move, but
I mean, I'd say if he's going for style points, we put him higher.
upon further examination, I don't think it's really all that useful in the long run. Being on the surface of the water is quite possibly the most vulnerable position in the game, leaving you open to attacks from above and below. But ultimately, I think it's more important to just point out that the whole reason the reptile faction split off from the amphibian player base in the first place was to remove their reliance on water. So choosing an ability with a pretty situational use that also requires that the user be on the water's edge to use it is kind of a step backwards in the grand scheme of things. The Basilisk doesn't even have bad stats. It couldn't use the water dash move without above average mobility. But still, I think its choice of moveset is pretty self-limiting, and they'd be better off speccing into other signature moves.
A gecko!
In C tier, we have two lizard builds who invested heavily into the climbing ability. The Gecko build operates in a similar manner to the Tree Frog, with cling pads enabling it to climb any surface with ease. As far as mobility perks though, this is probably one of the best in the game. It works great as an escape option, but is also fantastic for utility and even for offense, allowing the user to approach targets that are normally harder to reach. Being able to hang on tight is also super important for all.
I love geckos. My family has a house in Italy, and we whenever we go visit it, we get like geckos going throughout because it's like old stone walls. So you get like geckos going in and out of the stones. And when I was a kid, I always tried to catch them. Never actually caught one because they are pretty decently quick compared to us. But yeah, they're cool. I love geckos.
Arboreal combat, as fall damage is a major threat. With such a strong clinging ability, geckos can often be the ones tossing other players into the void below. Geckos do have a fair number of weaknesses though. They opt to use their tails to store energy, which can be a useful ability, but unfortunately in doing so, they take away the option to use their tails to attack. Geckos also do not have scales, instead opting for skin that gives disease resistance bonuses, so their armor class is lower than that of most lizards and actually more akin to amphibians. Because of this, they're quite vulnerable to piercing damage, such as bird talons and snake fangs, and with relatively low damage output, their only
They're just chilling. They're friends. They know they're chilling.
real hope against such attacks is stealth.
They're not chilling. They're no longer chilling.
which some do definitely excel at. All
Like, that's crazy. If you were just walking by, you would not spot him.
in all, solid mid-tier. The Anoli is a small, agile lizard build with a surprising number of special abilities,
I haven't heard of this one.
most notable of which are their adhesive toe pads and their color-changing skin.
Honestly, if I saw this guy, I would just think this was another kind of gecko. But it's a different thing.
Most builds that run the cling pad ability tend to be more bulky and cumbersome. Anolis emphatically break this mold, being both excellent climbers and having a climbing speed that rivals that of the squirrel. Because of this, they're great at escaping attacks by jumping between trees and scrambling up branches. But where things really get interesting is with the color change perk. Now, the ability to change colors is one of the most downright broken stealth perks in the game, and one of the main reasons I consider cephalopods top tier. Anolis have probably the most basic version of the color change perk, allowing them to shift between green and brown at will, while nowhere near as versatile as some
Green and brown is really all you need for kind of most environments, I think.
other color changing builds. Green and brown are pretty much all you need the vast majority of the time.
Yeah.
This change is
What did I
very
say?
gradual though, so it's unlikely to allow you to escape mid-combat. Which is unfortunate because, similar to the gecko, the Anoli suffers from a lack of combat options when caught out in the open.
A Gila monster. I've not heard of this one either.
Last in C tier we have
But he looks cool.
the Gila monster. The Gila monster is one of the tankier lizard builds, and possesses one of the highest damage outputs in the game for its size.
Oh shit.
It owes this high damage not to its actual power stat, but
Ah, it's got venom.
to its venomous bite, a rare ability among lizards. This makes them extremely dangerous in close combat, and combined with their excellent defensive stats and digging ability, this allows them to easily vanquish all of the players in any nest it discovers. The Gila monster is extremely slow moving though, which can cause issues if it's ever forced to flee, or if it needs to chase down a target. The lack of a long whip-like tail also means its defense
What is that just a normal squirrel? Is it just me or does that squirrel look fucking huge? That can't be a squirrel. What is that?
Defensive combat options aren't near as diverse as other larger lizards. Still, with one of the most devastating bites in the game, it's certainly no low tier.
Iguana. Okay, so I was wrong. I put iguana at the top, but he didn't make it. So we had an iguana in our college and he had an entire room to himself. Job was his name, and he was fucking sick. He just sat there and chilled.
B tier, we've got the tried and true iguana, arguably the best representative of the lizard build as a whole, as it has essentially all the main weaknesses and strengths of its class. I have an entire video on the iguana, so go
Oh, we'll have to check that out.
check that out if you want an in-depth review, but in short, the iguana sports mid-range stats across the board, and is the first lizard on the tier list to make use of its tail for something other than a sacrificial scapegoat. The iguana's tail whip attack allows it to control a solid defensive zone around itself in all directions, enabling it to defend itself from group attacks. Tail whip's damage is on the low side though, so a persistent attacker could potentially just eat the damage in order to break through and land its own attacks. The iguana also has access to the autotomy ability.
Oh, they can. I said earlier that I don't iguanas drop their tails, but I didn't know they do. Okay.
But this is especially costly in the iguana's case, as it also be giving up its best combat move in the process. Overall, a solid mid-tier with lots of potential, especially in the marine servers.
Chameleon.
The Chameleon build sports several of the most unique abilities in the game. So most lizards,
I fucking love the chameleons. Are sick. Enjoy that.
especially the insectivorous ones, have a pretty simple game plan for taking down enemies. Chase them down and grab them. This strategy has a lot of limitations though. First of all, it means you've got pretty much no options to attack a player who is too large to grab. It also forces you to optimize heavily towards mobility, forcing you to neglect other potential strategies in order to have a chance at catching up to your target. The Chameleon subverts this limitation by speccing into one of the strangest abilities in the game, a tether tongue attack. This essentially functions as a ranged grab, and is extremely effective at scoring the Chameleon kills.
Sorry, if I seem out of breath or like kind of stuffy as well, I'm still ill. So, yay me.
This also allows the Chameleon the freedom to prioritize other stats over mobility, and in the Chameleon's case, they're clearly optimized for stealth, as evidenced by their other special ability, Color Change. Now, while chameleons can change color in order to buff their camouflage, most use it for communication and intimidation, shifting to brighter colors to display dominance. While they don't have the same cling pads that geckos and anoles do, their prehensile tail gives them extra security to ensure that they don't get easily ripped out of trees, and allows them to attack from riskier positions. With all this said though, they still struggle when caught out in the open because of their
I don't want to see that.
low mobility. And they also share the same offensive weakness of not being able to take down players that they can't gulp down.
He tried. The POV, the fucking the Trump shooter.
Down in a single bite.
Oh.
The tegu is a lizard built.
Oh, tegus. Tegus are pretty friendly, aren't they? I'm pretty sure that people say that tegus are like the most dog-like reptile you can keep as a pet.
That has long been overlooked, but has recently become a serious contender on the tier list. Its recent invasion into the North American server has destabilized the local meta, and when you look at their stats, it's easy to see why. Tegus are similar in both strategy and stats to the iguana, but slightly slower and more defense-oriented. Their thicker hide and stockier build allows them to shake off attacks that would send other characters reeling. They've also got a higher intelligence stat than most lizards, which, in addition to making them surprisingly decent support builds, also makes them great at outsmarting builds like alligators in order to attack their nests. Tegus are also omnivores, meaning they aren't forced to participate in PvP in order to level up. They did spec into the autonomy ability though, which I unfortunately think keeps them out of top tier. Before I reveal the
Fair enough. We've established that. Whoa! I swear there was 2 in here earlier. But yeah, fair enough. Autonomy does keep them out the top tier. I will agree.
top tier lizards, I just want to say real quick, if you've made it this far and are enjoying the video, it would sure make my day.
Guys, make sure you subscribe to TierZoo, and make sure you, if you've made it to this point in the video, subscribe to me anyway, because clearly you like the content. Well, I think mine is something like 3% subscribed, so let's get that up a bit, guys. Come on.
If you subscribed. Thanks. So, without a shadow of a doubt, the best lizard build is the Monitor Lizard. They have everything. They've got the best stats, a combination of great mobility, power, size, and intelligence. Similar to the iguana, monitor lizards have an extremely powerful tail whip, capable of deterring even top-tier predators. Monitor lizards also have a venomous bite, which again is a rarity in the lizard faction. While not the speediest lizards outright, they do have great versatility in their movement, being able to swim efficiently as well as climb most surfaces, though not to the same degree as the marine iguana or the gecko respectively. Their high intelligence enables them to consistently.
Okay, so far he's got me agreeing. Okay, monitors are top tier. I know monitors do include. I'm pretty sure monitors do include the Komodo dragon, which is what I said at the start anyway. Because you can't have a tier list with lizards and not put monitor Komodo dragons at the top.
Figure out ways to successfully raid the spawn points of other players, and their high defense makes it so they can be rather difficult to stop once they've committed to an attack. This faction also contains the most powerful lizard in the game, a lizard that reaches near dinosaur power levels. Komodo dragons are
I'd still love to just pet a Komodo dragon. Why doesn't that be a cool thing to do?
extremely powerful. They have a venomous bite that, while not as powerful as cobra venom, is still powerful enough to seriously weaken even the tankiest builds. But even without that, they'd be an absolute powerhouse. Their tail swipes, claw slashes, and thrashing bites can easily shred through the HP of their targets. Their only real weakness is their speed, which, while solid, isn't broken by any means. Still, with their incredible sense of smell, a player can never really truly escape a Komodo that's hunting them. The distance that you need to flee in order to make the Komodo unable to track you down.
I'm pretty sure all the Komodo dragons in the wild as well. They're all on one. They're all on one island, aren't they? So you literally you can outrun it first, but you're on a small island if you're there. So you ain't escaping it.
Would require you to leave the island server entirely. Last but certainly not least, Komodos, as well as the entire Monitor Lizard player base, understand that their tails are an invaluable weapon that shouldn't be sacrificed in order to escape a battle. So there you have it, the Lizard tier list. Hopefully now you've got a good understanding.
Right, do I agree with this list completely? Is there anything that I would change about this list? I think I would move geckos to B tier, and I think I'd move iguanas to A tier, and I keep everything else the same. I think those are the only changes I would make.
Understanding of the Lizard's strategies and matchups.
Admittedly, there were a few things I had to cut from the script of this video to avoid demonetization or age restriction. If you want to see the director's cut of this episode, you can check it out on Nebula, a streaming service made by and for creators. I do this with all of my new videos, uploading ad-free and uncensored versions of my videos there, as well as a few entirely exclusive videos. In addition, you can check out my appearance on the Nebula exclusive podcast Genesis if you're interested in hearing my character's backstory. Thank you for watching.
Okay then guys, that's going to be my reaction to the Lizard tier list. I think I've I think I paused too many times during that video because I don't know what the time is on this reaction, but it's probably one of my longer ones. So I'll end this here, and yeah, I gave my reaction and review kind of, you know, during the actual reaction. But yeah, for the most part, I agreed with the list. There was 2 changes I would have made. I would have moved geckos and iguanas up, just because I feel like they could just push into those upper tiers. But yeah, TierZoo, what a hell of a video. They produce it so well, and it's fun and informative. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next reaction. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.